All right, so today we're going to go over lesson 7.2. If you need to pause the video to go to Google Classroom to open up that Nearpod, please pause the video. All right, so the first thing we're going to start with is actually opening up the number 2 from Friday, which is interpreting evidence about phase change. This was the slide deck where you annotated the evidence cards and then sorted them on the last slide. So if you go to Google Classroom, it's going to be under week 19, number 2. And you'll want to open up the slide deck. If you need to pause the video while you do that, please do so. The directions say to review the last slide where you sorted your evidence. When you finish, click the link below to go to Amplify and answer the 2 questions. So in your slide set, you want to go to the last slide, and here you should have sorted the evidence cards as to whether the lake, it supported the claim that the lake froze, supported the claim that the lake evaporated, or refuted either one of those claims. So you should have those sorted. Take a moment to read over how you sorted them. If you need more time, please pause the video. And when you're ready, click the link here to go to Amplify. Once you get here to Amplify, you want to answer these 2 questions. So based on the evidence, the strongest claim is that the lake on Titan did what? So based on the evidence that you sorted, which do you feel is the stronger claim? And then the most convincing or strongest piece of evidence comes from which card? So you want to choose the card that you think is the strongest evidence and then hand that in. Please pause the video while you complete that. Okay, so let's take a moment to look closely at 2 of the evidence cards. First, evidence card C. Evidence card C provides evidence that the lake disappeared during Titan's summer, when more energy was reaching Titan's surface. So this is Titan's summer. This is where it started. Summers, remember, are 7 years long on Titan. So summer started in 2002. And by 2010, when fall started, the lake had already been gone for a year. So more energy reaches Titan during the summer, and therefore it disappeared at the end of the summer, by the end of the summer. Evidence card D provides evidence about summer on Titan. During the summer months, more energy is transferred to the lake. Evidence card D says that a scientist at the Universal Space Agency says summer days have more hours of sunlight. Therefore, more energy is transferred to the lake in summer than in any other season. So that card provides evidence that the lake was receiving more energy during summer. So energy was being transferred into the lake. Together, C and D provide very strong evidence that the lake on Titan likely disappeared because it evaporated. If you have the lake gone at the end of the summer, and we have evidence that summer days have more energy being transferred into the lake, then that would cause the liquid methane to absorb more energy, which would eventually increase the freedom of movement and cause that liquid methane to turn to a gas and making it evaporate. Before we move on to the next activity, we're going to review the key concepts and vocabulary that we've added to the science wall. So we're at the end of chapter 2, and so we want to think about how these key concepts can help us understand what could cause the liquid methane to change phase. Here are the key concepts from chapter 1. Please pause the video and take a moment to read them. Make sure that you're paying special attention to key concept number 4, and that a phase change is when molecules that make up a substance experience a change to their freedom of movement. So to go from a liquid to a gas, we had to have a change in the freedom of movement. Here's what we learned from chapter 2. When energy is transferred to or from a substance, it can change the molecule's freedom of movement. So that's how we go from phase to phase to phase. To go from a liquid to a gas, the freedom of movement has to change, and that happens because energy is transferred to or from a substance. We have our definition of temperature. And number 8, transferring energy to a substance increases the kinetic energy of that substance molecules. And then the opposite is also true. Take a moment to read those over. Pause the video if you need to. Here is our vocabulary from the unit so far, adding the words kinetic energy and temperature onto our chapter 1 vocabulary. So you are now going to write your scientific argument for Dr. Flores about the lake on Titan. You're going to use the evidence that you sorted to help you. You can also look back at the models from the beginning of the lesson. So remember, when we create our arguments, we always follow the format CER. You want to first state your claim, describe the evidence that supports that claim, and then your reasoning to explain how the evidence supports or refutes the claim. So a sample, the evidence refutes the claim that molecules in a substance disappear or no longer exist when a substance changes phase. Remember, that was one of our claims from a previous lesson in chapter 1. And we found evidence to refute or go against that claim. Your writing piece does not have to be refutes. You can say the evidence supports the claim. If you want to use refutes, that is fine. The textual evidence states that when a substance changes phase, the molecule's freedom of movement changes, but the molecules themselves stay the same. So that was the evidence from the article that you had read, so your text evidence. The reasoning to support that, this is important because if water molecules always stay the same, they cannot disappear when water changes phase. So when you write your argument, you want to state the claim that either the lake evaporated or the lake froze. You want to pull evidence from the 4 evidence cards that you had in this activity. And then you want to provide the reasoning that supports that evidence to support that claim. You can go ahead and go to Google Classroom and open up the number 2 for today. And you're going to follow the directions and write a convincing argument to Dr. Flores. So let's go to Google Classroom and open up the number 2 for today. The directions say, when you write your scientific argument to Dr. Flores, remember to explain how your evidence supports or refutes a claim and why your evidence is significant. Use the sentence starters on the interpreting evidence about phase change page and the word bank below to help you explain your thinking. So those directions that I just read came from this document here. So that's a repeat of the directions. Here are your sentence starters to help you with your reasoning. And here is your word bank. Dr. Flores would like an update on your research about what happened to the lake on Titan. Did the lake on Titan evaporate or freeze? After you clearly state your claim, so start with your claim, explain how the evidence connects to the claim to support your argument. So you're going to state whether the lake froze or the lake evaporated. And hopefully from our lesson, you have come to realize that the lake has evaporated and that the strongest evidence for that is evidence C and D. So you want to use evidence C and D to support your claim and make sure that you provide, make sure that you provide reasoning to support that. For your reasoning, you want to use your key concepts. You will find those key concepts in your Nearpod on these slides. So here's key concepts for Chapter 2 and Chapter 1. You can use key concepts from both if you feel that they are appropriate. And you just type your response here. So claim, evidence, reasoning. Claim, the lake evaporated. Evidence cards C and D, and your key concepts to support that. When you are finished, you should turn your writing piece in, and this is the end of lesson 7.2. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.